If you're following the Porsche 911 market, you know that there don't seem to be many bargains out there. But if you found one at a 50% discount, would you jump on it? Or would you assume that it was too good to be true? We have a customer who decided to roll the dice. Salvage car rebuilds have been popular on YouTube for a long time. You buy a wrecked car at auction and fix it up for a fraction of the price of a new one. But what we typically see on YouTube are content cars. They're built specifically for the videos. The goal is to tell a great story, not to deliver a flawless restoration. There are also businesses out there buying these cars at auction, repairing them, and selling them for a profit. Our customer Scott bought one of those cars, a 2020 C4S, and brought it to us for a round of upgrades. We assigned the job to Kevin, who was a highly trained Porsche dealership tech before he came to Wolfpen a couple years ago. Kevin's not the type to let shoddy work slide, so we were not surprised when he found all sorts of problems that Scott wasn't expecting. But this is not Scott's first rodeo. He previously owned a Hellcat with a branded title, and that experience taught him some lessons that I'm going to share with you. Lesson number 1, don't overpay for the car. Back in the day, 911s used to depreciate like any other German luxury car. I remember test driving a C4S at CarMax in 2005, and that car had lost half its value in less than 3 years. But these days, every 911 is priced like a collector's item. The average list price for a 2020 C4S like Scott's is $140,000. That's more than the base MSRP when it was new. The dealer where Scott bought his car had it listed for $89,000. That's $50,000 below market price. But Scott knew that price was too high for a car with flood damage, even if it was repaired properly. So he negotiated and negotiated. He worked on them for 3 months. Finally, they relented, and Scott bought the car for $69,000. That's a 50% discount compared to a car with a clean history. Lesson number 2, get a warranty. 911s are expensive to repair regardless of whether they've been in a flood or not. And as it turns out, there are aftermarket warranty companies who are willing to offer coverage on these cars.
And that turned out to be a smart purchase for Scott. He brought the car to us for upgrades, but you always want to start with a healthy baseline, so Kevin inspected the car for issues. And sure enough, he found a leaking water pump and a failing hydraulic tensioner for the drive belt. These cars use a vacuum-actuated water pump, and when the diaphragm fails, which happens a lot, coolant gets sucked into the valve block that distributes vacuum to the other systems. We saw a case recently where coolant had traveled all the way to the brake master cylinder at the front of the car. Scott's warranty paid for a $4,000 repair that otherwise would have been out of pocket for him.
Lesson number 3, use some of the money you save on the purchase price to mod the car to your liking. Scott's previous car was a C7 Corvette ZR1, and the problem was it was too nice. Every time he drove it, he worried about diminished value if the car was in an accident. And he didn't want to install mods because he worried that it would hurt the value. With a salvage title car, value isn't really a concern, so you can mod it to your heart's content. And with a stout 3-liter twin turbocharged flat 6, the 992 Generation 911 is an especially good platform for performance upgrades.
Kevin started with a slip-on valved exhaust from Akrapovic. This is where we saw signs of flood damage because the exhaust hardware was heavily corroded and difficult to remove. This exhaust normally sells for about $6,000, but Scott told me he got most of his parts used for less than half of their retail price. We generally don't install customer-supplied parts, but when we do, we need to charge a higher labor rate to make up for the missing margin. Akrapovic claims that this system is 60% lighter than the factory sport exhaust, shaving 18 pounds from the rear of the car. It also adds some horsepower and torque by letting the car breathe more freely. Next up, Kevin went to work with a body kit from Maxton Design. There aren't a lot of kits out there for the 992, and what is available tends to be pricey and a little over the top visually. This Maxton Design kit is made out of ABS plastic that looks very similar to the factory pieces, and it's reasonably priced. Of course, Scott again scored a deal on used parts. The kit includes a front splitter, side skirts, and a rear splitter. They also offer a rear wing lip, but Scott had different plans for the spoiler. While we were at it, we found that several of the factory underbody panels were damaged, presumably from an accident, so we sourced the replacements for those. We were a little skeptical at first about this body kit, but as the install progressed, we were getting excited to see how it would turn out.
Brings me to Scott's rule number 4, be careful of freshly rebuilt cars. Scott wants this car to be fast, but it's hard to trust that you can drive it hard when you know that it's been partially submerged in salt water. So Scott specifically looked for a car that had accumulated some miles after the damage happened. This one had been driven 7,000 miles since the flooding incident, so he figured that any major bugs would have been worked out already. That is smart, but my suspicion is this car was in an accident after the flood that wasn't reported on the Carfax because we continued to find hidden damage. But we'll get to that in a bit.
To help this car breathe a little better, we installed a hose kit from DO88 in Sweden. We started with their pressure hose kit, which replaces the factory charge pipes that lead from the turbos into the intercooler. The factory rubber is exposed to high temperature and pressure for long periods of time and is prone to cracking. The DO88 stuff uses high-quality silicone that should last much longer. We also installed their turbo inlets that will improve airflow. Along with a set of BMC air filters, the car can breathe better, which will increase horsepower. Watching Kevin bevel those hose clamp edges gives me the warm fuzzies because he's the type of person who believes there's a right way to do things even if it takes a little extra time, and he enjoys spending that extra time on those little details. A lot of installers put in the minimum effort when it comes to things the customer won't see, but we look for techs who genuinely care about the car they're working on, and we give them the time to do it. With the new parts installed, Kevin began reassembly, which meant filling and bleeding the cooling system. Scott found a used Dissident ducktail that had previously been on a chalk-colored 992, and that's how Scott found us. The guy who sold him the spoiler and the muffler told him about Wolfpen. We asked our friend Sean at the collision company in Roswell to match the spoiler to Scott's gentian blue paint, and I think they did a perfect job. This isn't a fixed ducktail, it will still extend its speed. I really like how it follows the factory body lines and looks like it could be a factory part. With the spoiler installed, the rear bumper could go back in place, but first the Akrapovic titanium exhaust bezels are installed. Scott supplied wheels he sourced from a company called Stanced Wheels. These are their SF10 model, finished in a gloss gray. When the car fired up for the first time, it immediately had more volume and a deeper rumble thanks to the muffler, but it's still a refined sound. Next up was the tune from M Engineering. Scott chose their Stage 1 tune.
On 93 octane fuel, this tune takes the car from 424 wheel horsepower to 545, and from 413 pound-feet of torque to 476. They offer options to eliminate the auto start stop feature, to eliminate the cold start feature, and to allow the car to free rev to redline.
Scott also sourced an aftermarket steering wheel. That meant that the factory wheel needed to be removed, and all of the hardware, including the airbag, electronics, and trim pieces, had to be transferred from the stock wheel to the new one. This is the kind of thing that doesn't sound like that big of a deal when you're shopping for parts, but when you see the process, you realize there's a lot of work involved. When he had the wheels off, Kevin noticed that the passenger front fender liner appeared to be damaged, so we ordered a new one, which took a while to arrive. When the old one came out, you could see that someone had attempted to fix it with packing tape, which I'm pretty sure is not a Porsche approved repair method, but the new liner didn't want to fit, and that's when Kevin discovered more damage. This support bar was bent, and AC lines had been bent and routed improperly to try to make everything work. To fix it correctly, Kevin had to drain the AC refrigerant.
But our machine refused to complete the process because it detected the wrong refrigerant in the system. This car uses the modern R1234YF, but somebody had partially refilled the system with the older R134A. The thing is, different refrigerants use different types of fittings to avoid accidentally mixing them. So at some point, somebody had to build a custom fitting specifically to allow them to fill this car with the wrong refrigerant.
So we had to call in the specialist from 4A Auto and AC Repair to properly evacuate and dispose of the contaminated refrigerant. Replacing all of the parts and draining and refilling the refrigerant and coolant cost Scott another $3,000 that he wasn't expecting, and that wasn't covered by his warranty. But that's part of why Scott negotiated a lower purchase price so this type of repair wouldn't ruin his budget. And since he still had some budget left for mods, Scott decided to complement his engine tune with a PDK tune from M Engineering. That requires the PDK module to be shipped out, which means the rear seats had to be removed. And that's when Kevin discovered a lot of mysterious white powder underneath the rear seats. Now I know what you're probably thinking, that's how Scott is paying for all this. But after running some careful tests, we concluded that the fine white powder was just sand that most likely found its way into the car during the flooding incident.
I don't like sand.
M Engineering turned around the PDK module quickly. Their tune does a long list of things, including optimized shift times and higher clamping force to hold more torque. That wrapped up our portion of the project, but we also coordinated with some local shops for window tint, paint correction, and ceramic coating. For window tint, we took the car over to Champagne Window Tinting, owned by Melody Champagne. Javier installed a ceramic tint that rejects 98% of heat that tries to come through the glass. Scott not only had the windows and rear glass done, but he elected to do a nearly clear tint on the windshield, which has the same heat rejection properties as the darker tint. That will keep the interior from baking in the Georgia sun, and it should preserve the leather dash for a long time. Next, we took the car over to our neighbors at Wire Mobile Detail. Between the flood and the collision, this paint has lived a hard life. Jared from Wire took his time with the car, and I think it may have sealed the deal for him that he wants to buy a 992. There are still some deep scratches here and there that a light paint correction can't address, but it brought out the luster and made the car really pop visually.
When the car was done, we all agreed that it really stood out from all the 992s we've seen. It looked amazing. After the photo shoot, Jack and I took the car out for a little shakedown drive. Think of how far this thing has come. From salvage, accident damage, to whoever did the initial repairs didn't do that great of a job, to now it is properly repaired and modded, both performance and visually. And you've got yourself basically a $90,000 992 Carrera 4S with mods. It's crazy. It makes all the noises. It looks the business. I really like that ducktail. The stance, the noises, the handling, the power delivery, it's all phenomenal in terms of what you get for the money, and the end product really holding up really well. I'm super impressed. By the way, valve controller plus Akrapovic plus M engineering tune. Turned out great. It turned out great. We could take this thing to the track right now and rip it, and I have 100% confidence that it would stand up.
Let's go.
Scott has had the car for a while now, and he is thrilled with it. He told me that all in, he's spent a little more than $90,000. That is a crazy bargain in the 911 world. And the car has such a distinctive look, you can't miss it in a crowd. That said, I'm not sure if I'm ready to jump on the salvage 911 bandwagon, but if prices keep going up, I might have to.